Welcome to Just Curious. Today I'm joined by Mio Suzuki, an AI strategist, deep tech consultant, and founder of MoD+M. Mio spent her career bridging the gap between cutting-edge AI and real-world business execution, particularly in traditional industries where AI adoption can be slow or fragmented. She's worked with companies in mobility, manufacturing, and consumer tech, helping them develop practical, results-driven AI strategies. They will be diving into two key topics: how AI is being adopted in traditional industries without the hype, and how businesses can move from AI curiosity to AI execution. Mio will also share real-world examples from her work, including helping a bicycle manufacturer integrate AI into its operations, and her current work exploring AI-driven travel and mobility experiences. Mio, welcome to Just Curious.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to start MoD+M.
My educational background has been on the technical side. Learned trade is an engineering. And I wanted to, well, from early on, my engineering practice spanned on touching on a lot of different types of large quantity of data because I was focusing on simulation. Eventually, that wrangling of data led me to discover data science. And of course, ultimately, data science nowadays are all about AI and using the AI for application. In my last role at a company, I constructed a team that had a segment unit that focused on bringing the AI to the company where there was no data science practice, and then integrating that AI operation into the company.
Amazing. And what problem did you see that led you to start MoD+M?
Yeah, so one of the things that I realized in my last role was a traditional segment or traditional industry really struggled to see the value of AI. Oftentimes people think AI is just a hype word or buzzword that, that they hear on news, but they really couldn't connect with that word. So I really wanted to break down the barrier between the hype AI and the tangible business value. And then that bridging between the tech speak and then the business speak is somewhere that I could strongly contribute. And then I wanted to realize that, generalize that toward any other industry too. And that's what led me to building MoD+M.
And when it comes to companies in traditional industries like mobility or manufacturing, outside of kind of connecting the hype with real business value, what do you see as the biggest challenges with respect to AI adoption?
Yeah, so sometimes people just immediately think about technology or necessity to incorporate some kind of software and technology in the process. And then it's really not that. What people want to be focusing on is the problem, clearly defining the problem they want to solve, and clearly defining the outcome they want to achieve. So there's this clear gap between the clear gap around how to think about AI, not just as a solution, but thinking it more as an empowerment tool for the business.
Awesome. And we're going to walk into and walk through an example from your work. But as sort of a lead into that, you've developed an AI adoption model, a four-step adoption model. Can you walk us through how that works?
Yes. Yeah. Um, so the four steps model starts with realizing the AI potential. And then depending on where the company is on their AI journey, this might be going over some of the little bit more advanced terminology of AI, or if the company is at the very beginning of AI journey, we are just going to be building out what I call AI awareness. What actually is AI? What are these different terminology that are covered under AI? Like, what is machine learning? What's deep learning? What is LLM? those things. I want to empower everybody in an organization to be able to comfortably speak and then be aware of what tools and methodologies are out there, right? So now step number one is understanding what AI is and realizing what AI has as a potential for the company. And then step number two, once we have the foundation, then we're moving into creating the use cases. And then not just creating the use cases, but prioritizing it and then putting a real ROI value, the financial ROI value attached to it, so that we have a clear understanding of what order or which problems the company can attack first. And then step number three is based on that prioritized use cases, assessing the readiness, technical readiness, and then constructing the strategy and even the tactics around it. And then once we have that central strategy in place, then we can build out a more of the long-term roadmap, AI roadmap, and then even speak about change management. So those are the four processes,
Awesome.
four
And
steps.
I would love to walk through an example with you of how you have deployed that model against a problem. So maybe we could start at the beginning. Who came to you, and what was the problem?
Yeah, so today I want to share how I helped build the AI foundation at a mid-sized global bicycle manufacturer. It's a company that knew that leveraging data that they have is essential to the business, but they didn't really know how to do it, and that they didn't really have a practice of AI. So they're looking for the way to integrate the practice, modern data practice, into their core operation. And like any other business, this company, they were looking at key challenges. One was generating better sales and marketing leads by moving away from manual process and going toward a little bit more data-centric, data-driven customer insights generating. And then they also wanted to challenge themselves and then improve demand forecasting, especially for new products, in order to avoid the costly overproduction and stockouts. And then number three, optimize inventory management, because they run a very successful retail operation and then they wanted to reduce excess stock and depreciation problems. Right. And at the time, these processes, I mean, it's not that they didn't have any solution at all to address these business problems. It's just that the way they were trying to solve the problem really focused on manual process or based on a very limited data analysis. So that led to inefficiencies or loss of productivity, or they were simply just losing out on attainable competitiveness, right? They could be doing much more, they could be gaining much more market share, but they weren't. So that's where my team stepped in, because we wanted to introduce to the business units that, hey, there's a more modern data science approach with machine learning and then AI that can really scalably enhance the operation and then gain a lot more insights in a faster manner. That's what we wanted to introduce. And yeah, so that's the problem that we wanted to solve.
So having identified the problems, and
Mhm.
the potential opportunities, where did you start?
Yeah, how does it? Yeah, one of the key challenge at this company, like I said, was that they did not have any prior AI experience whatsoever, right? They didn't even have a coherent a data science unit. The notion of AI was really brand new. So I knew that jumping straight into the solution wouldn't work. That would be a bad idea. So my first priority was building the right foundation such that we can ensure AI adoption was not just a technical experiment, but it would become strategic, result-driven initiative aligned with real business needs. So my team started out the organization, well, my team started out by conducting very in-depth interview with business unit stakeholders and also frontline individual contributors. And we did so with all the departments that existed in the company: sales, marketing, supply chain, operation, you name it, right? And these conversations helped us uncover about 30 potential AI use cases, spanning everything from customer service to digital marketing, lead generation problems. Then we realized that, well, not all these use cases that were pitched to us or that we discovered together with the business units were created equal. They had impacts of a different magnitude. So the next step was prioritization. So then we took a step to work closely with the senior leaders to refine the list down to 7 most urgent, high value opportunities. And we made sure to work with the finance team to attach ROI estimate to every single one of these 7 use cases. And this was a crucial step because it ensured that leadership team could see that AI as a business enabler rather than just an abstract concept, because there was a financial ROI attached. And at this stage, the biggest challenge wasn't identifying opportunities, but it was really proving that the business value of AI. AI adoption doesn't really happen because of the technology alone, but it happens because when decision makers see the practical investment opportunities and investment values with tangible outcomes. So we really needed to work on shifting the mindset of the leadership and those around it.
Awesome. And at that stage, how does one go about estimating an ROI?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In ROI calculation, because there wasn't any precedence about estimating the ROI of AI, we imagined the scenario of increasing, say, customer or number of customers visiting our website, and then based on that estimated increased number of the visitors to the website, we could then turn that into the estimated conversion, customer conversion, and then that means this much dollar sales, etc., etc. So any percent increase in efficiency or number of customer gained, that can be translated into dollar values. That's how we identified the dollars.
Gotcha. And one of the things that I'm capturing from this story is that there were many different stakeholders involved. Presumably, then you had permission from the organization to involve finance, marketing, sales, using their time and resources in support of this exercise. How important is top-down buy-in to a strategy like this? And what learnings did you come away from that you then impart on your own clients in terms of who needs to be involved from the organization when designing an AI strategy?
Yeah, senior leader involvement is exceptionally important. Without their support, nothing really moves, right? They really are key to gaining more momentum and adopting new technology. And then also, uh, really, they are the key individuals who can speak about how important it is to gain competitive edge for the company. So we needed their involvement at every step of the way. They don't need to be, writing project proposal, but of course they needed to understand the and they needed to understand what it means to integrate AI into certain processes and then into the business practice. Yep. And
And so
I think I missed the second part of that question. Sorry.
I think just what sort of learnings, you then share with your clients with respect to who should be involved in a project like this. It sounds like, it sounds like you need top-down buy-in, and then you need all the relevant stakeholders who are going to be impacted by it because they're ultimately going to be the ones who are using the solutions. And if they're not involved in the process of prioritizing the problems, then they're not going to want to use the solutions.
Yeah, exactly. And which is why my team decided to interview everybody in a vertical chain of the organization. it wasn't that we were just asking director, VPs, and the CEOs to about their opinion on AI. It was really critically important for us to understand the real pain points felt by the individual contributors or the unit managers on their day-to-day operation, of where businesses are actually stuck. Because we wanted to make sure that the AI is a tool that really resolve the stickiness of the business, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And do you find in that interview process that the more junior the employee, the more valuable the insight?
No, I think everybody contributed very, very equally in their insights. Yeah, the junior employees, they may have fresher perspectives, right, on operation. They might be directly involved with very hands-on processes. They might be the one who's touching, interfacing the customers or touching the raw data, etc., etc. So they have that. The business unit operation is a lot more complex no matter the size of the company. So everybody's opinion was equally valuable.
Yeah. About approximately how many people were involved in this process?
So in interviewing process,
Yeah.
yeah. So for example, say for customer service unit, I might ask the customer service director to assemble a group of 10 people. And then these tend to be individual contributors, managers, who could share their stories with us. And then we'll have maybe hour-long initial conversation, and then followed by a couple of secondary interviews to really capture the problem statement. And then I would have additional conversation with the director and then VP level senior leaders, stakeholders, presenting our findings from the individual contributors and then managers. And also we wanted to understand the departmental visions. So in that case, we would involve the senior leaders to expand and elaborate on the problems, and then they can share the new insights and a direction.
Great. And so you worked with finance to assign an ROI to the problems. That helped you then down select a prioritized list of problems. And then you went about designing solutions. Tell me a little bit about the process of designing a solution to these problems.
Yeah. So in designing the solution, one of the things that we wanted to think about was budget constraints, right? It's not that, I mean, again, this was a mid-sized traditional industry. That company didn't have infinite amount of dollars. We wanted to be mindful about the department budget. So what that means is we wanted to consider buy versus build when it comes to implementing the solution. Do we buy off-the-shelf solution, or do we construct a solution from ground up in-house? Both could be viable depending on the problems. So for each of the problem that we identified, we would assign a score, 1 to 5 scale score on the technical complexity slash feasibility. Like, how complex or niche is this problem? Does this require somebody with PhD with a particular skill set in order to solve this problem? Or is there a quick solution already available, published by a third company, that we can simply purchase at pretty minimal cost and then immediately apply it? That kind of things. So that scoring really helped us organize the problems even further and then prioritize which one to attack, and then which one to say this may be a little bit more involved.
Gotcha. And so you scored them. Technical complexity was one of the criteria. What were some of the other criterias that you used in determining, I guess, one, which of the problems to kind of go to finally choose, plus like what kind of solution made most sense?
Yeah, so other important ones are data availability. Do we have enough data available for AI to solve this problem? AI, at the end of the day, is a statistical model, which means they need some amount of data in order to solve the problem. So if the data is too sparse, the AI cannot effectively solve and create a solution for you. We needed to have enough data available internally, and then if we don't have enough data internally, is there a way to supplement data using external data, right? So the data governance and the data availability is the second thing that we looked at. And then, of course, probably the most important one is the business urgency. Some of the problems were more important to the particular business unit than the others. So in that case, I would get assistance from vice president level stakeholders to identify the urgency of solving particular problems. And then they would know that solving the particular problem might relieve the pains for, say, millions of customers out there, or might mean reduction of inventory, which could be millions of dollars for the companies, right? So with their guidance, we could assign a score for each of those technical complexity, data readiness, and then business urgency. And then based on that, we would sort.
Right. And can you tell us a little bit about the solutions that you ended up designing for the bicycle manufacturer?
So for this company, I had a direct impact on customer discovery efficiency and then also SKU reduction. And both of those tools made a difference in being able to make being able to make effective decisions. So AI-driven customer segmentation allowed the company to identify high-value customer groups and with greater precisions and leading more targeted approach to marketing campaign, which led to increased conversion rates and then boosting the revenue. And the SKU reduction too, right? That if we could successfully reduce the number of SKUs of the product without necessarily cutting the service to or addressing the product's demands and needs by the customers, it's a direct cost reduction for the companies.
Yeah. And those outcomes, were those driven by homegrown solutions that you built, or did you buy or rent solutions off the shelf?
Yeah, for these two cases, these were homegrown, home-built solutions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Without getting into anything like proprietary, what sort of tools or stack did you use to create these solutions?
Yeah. So for the customer segmentation, this company has Databricks, right? That we leveraged. So that enables us to really pull the data efficiently and also build a model or launch the model, deploy the model within their ecosystem. And that's what we mainly use. The other skill reduction, that was a little bit more of an offline approach, using more of a notebook approach and then creating the models offline and then again packaging, pulling the data from the data warehouse that company had and building a solution like that.
Awesome. What were the biggest roadblocks you ran into, and how did you end up working through them?
Yeah, the biggest roadblocks was, let's see, I think it wasn't really the technical one, but any technical roadblocks such as, hey, the data is not ready or available, etc. Those were somewhat of the anticipated problems. So those were easy to spot from the beginning. But the biggest one was maybe dealing with the organizational mindset, right? I anticipating what I didn't quite anticipate was the skepticism around AI because it was new. Early on, I think so many people still saw AI as just experimentation or futuristic concept rather than something that could deliver a tangible value. So proving out with small enough success and then a small enough result to slowly build out the enthusiasm and momentum was crucial.
And what were the biggest surprises along the way?
The biggest surprises was understanding that having an internal champion is really, really valuable, not just for AI adoption, but for project execution. So these AI internal champions, they tend to be someone who already practice or has competency around the data in some way. Maybe they're analysts or they are individual AI enthusiasts, and they can really be a strong ally when executing a project. And then when you need extra hands prepping the data for AI analysis, and then more so than I anticipated. So they weren't just cheering you on from the sideline, but they were solid participants in the project. And yeah, really surprisingly, uh, yeah, I was surprised very positively by their participation.
And if you had to do this again, what would you do differently?
I would focus on the AI education first at the beginning of the project. So some of the challenging, so I spoke a little bit about AI not having everybody's mind focused on AI, or not everybody believing in AI as a challenge. So one of the things I would do is if I had say 20 minutes, even 30 minutes of the time at the beginning of the project or beginning of the initiative, simply focusing on AI education, meaning just so that everybody's aligned, everybody's able to speak the same kind of AI language and then use the same kind of vocabulary in order to describe what AI can do for that. I think that would do wonders for executing rest of the project because everybody believes in going toward the same direction.
Right, right. And in terms of lessons that business leaders who are looking to pursue a similar strategy can gain from your experience here, tell us a little bit about the biggest lessons learned.
Yeah, I would like to emphasize that starting with the business problem, not the technology, especially now. I mean, starting from 2023, 24, now 25, still constantly evolving field. And then underneath the blanket term of AI are different types of tech. And some of the technologies, some of the say segments of tech might be particularly suitable for finance, but may not be so suitable for supply chain. AI could mean anything. So if business leaders and the business or the company focuses on the problem and then have a clarity on what to solve and then what the goals are, and then go after the technology that really addresses the problem, then that could lead to successful implementation.
And for businesses that want to use AI but don't know where to start, what's a quick win?
I would say that the fastest way to see tangible ROI is probably focusing on automating high volume repetitive tasks, whether it's streamlining customer inquiry or data entry or voice processing. AI powered automation these days can deliver immediate efficiency gains and reducing manual work. And what that means is that you can free up teams to focus on higher, more human centric, valued tasks. So, yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah. And with MoD, what types of companies are you working with?
We like to focus on small to medium scale companies, particularly in traditional industry sectors.
And who's typically the stakeholder that is reaching out to you or that you're working with within an organization like that?
Yeah, VP levels and a CEO, CIO, depending on the scale of the company.
And I know you're actively experimenting with AI, both through MoD and also personally. What tools do you like these days?
I love one of the tools I really love is lovable.dev, which is agentic web app builder. You can also build a website with that too. It's essentially no code, low code solution. You can interface with just natural language, ask it to build an app, and then they'll build it for you. So if the company is looking for a quick way to experiment with an app or build MVP, POC, it's a really easy way to get started with that. Also, I'm exploring building my own AI agent using tools like N8, and which is a fun way to add additional automation in a day-to-day practice.
Cool. And then maybe lastly, what excites you most about the next 12 to 24 months of AI?
Yeah. So these days, everybody's talking about AI agents. So AI agent does tasks on behalf of you. And a lot of individuals, myself, including myself, are starting to use AI agents in our kind of more of a individual personal work routines, but I am looking for the scaled deployment of AI agents in enterprise scenes. I'd like to see how AI agents are going to be truly integrated into the business scenes.
Awesome. Mio, I really appreciate you coming by. Just curious and sharing more of your experience and sharing MoD. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cool.